Jeff, this week's question is, why are so many people living in fear and anxiety over the future? And what are some of the things that we can do about it today? Thank you.
Wow, that's a serious question, uh, and one we really all need to pay attention to. That is, I firmly believe that is not our natural state. That is not how you're supposed to be living. I don't give a darn about what your conditions are, your education, whatever it is. Your natural state is happy, healthy, joyful, fearless, loving, and alive, and you can be that way all the time. When you're going to the grocery, when you're paying your taxes, when you're putting gas in your car, whatever it is, you can still be that way. And if you're not, it's because you're paying attention to the wrong thing. Something's gone awry in the field. And so what happens is, this is the cycle that we're currently under. And this is a very sophisticated form of manipulation and control. And it's a form of mind control. And so what happens is humanity comes under duress, economic duress, wars, famine, you name it. 24-hour news cycle, economic crisis, political turmoil and upheaval. Okay, that is duress. All of that is duress. So you put humans under a state of duress. And then what happens is, over time, you see things like the suicide rate goes up, the divorce rate goes up, the overdoses on drugs goes up. Here in Ohio, we have a heroin problem, a serious heroin problem. People just killing themselves left and right with heroin overdoses. Mental illness increases. So duress, it gets tightened, the spigot gets turned on. Humanity gets under a state of duress, and then the effects of everything increases. All the negative side effects increase. And then what happens is humans stop doing things. They stop creating, they stop manifesting, they stop doing things like having children. So that's why you're seeing overall population rates being or decreasing. And so that just humans stop, they stop existing. And they coil up in a little ball in the corner and just hold on. They go from thriving, which is your natural state, to surviving, which is an induced state, a mind control state, a state that's been propagated upon you. Okay. And then rinse and repeat, just rinse and repeat. That's all the powers that be have to do, is keep repeating this cycle over and over and over. And we stay in it, or most people stay in it. And they keep buying into the bullshit, and they keep going under stress. They keep stopping themselves from being the creators that they came here to be. And you just keep doing this over and over and over. And that's your future. Okay. Now, this is choice. At some point, it's choice. There may be an incident where something happens, like a tornado comes through or something like that. That's not choice. So you do things to protect yourself. But in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger cycle of things, in the cycle that goes on year after year after year after year, it's choice. And at some level, you're making a choice to stay here. And that's hard for people to hear. I can feel that. Why are you choosing that? Well, you've forgotten some things. You've forgotten that you come directly from the creator of all that is. You have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And also, sometimes maybe we're not just forgotten it, but we deny it. And then we stay over here in this human game. This is the human game right here. This is the human game right now that's being played on us. We're not playing in it. We're not participating in it. It's being played on us. Huge difference. So that can lead to some things built up in the field. Things like embedded worry and stress. Embedded worry and stress. That I see people all the time in that state and condition. Overall, then you develop an addiction to worry. Okay, so that just makes you stay in this game more and more and more, because it's like, oh my God, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then syndromes of worry. And I firmly believe that's what this is inducing, is a syndrome of worry. It's like, oh my God, I survived the 2008 financial crash. Well, here we come with the 2020 financial crash. And then we just hold on because we know there's going to be a 2020X and 2030X. And, you know, we just assume that that's the way life has to be for us because we're at the whim of the many. So syndromes of worry, that's particularly nasty. What this ends up doing is it reverses your mind energy. Mind is the way you move energy into matter. Mind is the way you create. You're creating all the time, whether you know it or not. So if you're sitting there creating consciously, you can create the things you love. You can create the things you want. You can create the things that you desire. You can create things that change and help and serve humanity. But if you've reversed mind energy, you're creating all the time, whether you know it or not. So you're sitting there creating stress, worry, overwhelm, and then that goes into the field of humanity. So you're an energy field and you're playing in another energy field. And then that feeds this cycle. So you get people going over and over and over, increasing stress, anxiety, overwhelm. And then that just goes back to more humanity under duress, and off we go. And then before you know it, you have a future that you're worried about. When in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. This ultimately leads to things like, and I do find these in people's fields, a fear to die. A fear to die. You know, I got news for you folks. We're human. You know, we're a spiritual being having a human experience. And we all of us eventually find a way out of here. And what if that was the good news? What if that was the good news, right? Because whoopee, I went on the ride, I had a great time, now I get to go home, and then eventually you'll come back. But there's no reason to be afraid to die, but people carry that fear, and then that impacts them in their everyday life. And then they're afraid to take risks, they're afraid to step out, they're afraid to say no to the powers that be, and they go along with the status quo. And then the status quo lets this cycle continue over and over and over and over. And then it impacts us, it impacts our kids, it impacts our grandkids. So it just self-perpetuates. The bigger one I find with a lot of people is a fear to live.
Yeah.
Fear to live. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But I'll be damned if I don't see it over and over. And this is the people that hide and cower in their house. These are the people that shirk responsibility. These are the people that just kind of go along to get along. Whereas you should be out there actively creating your existence, actively creating your life, okay, within this matrix of crazy. There's a term for this, and I have a specific clearing around this. It's called cheirophobia. And cheirophobia is basically afraid to be happy. And it would blow your mind if you saw how many people have cheirophobia. And so cheirophobia, I'm going to read you the definition of it that I've got built into the protocol. Here's the protocol, afraid to be happy. It's an aversion to happiness, also called cheirophobia or fear of happiness. Is an attitude towards happiness in which individuals may deliberately avoid experiences that invoke positive emotions or happiness. The belief that when one becomes happy, a negative event will soon occur that will taint their happiness, as if that individual is being punished for satisfaction. When you're afraid of being too happy because you're afraid something tragic will happen. That's a sad way to live. That's a sad way to live because your natural state is happy, healthy, joyful, fearless, loving, and alive. And with cheirophobia, you can never get there. It doesn't allow you to sit there or stay there all the time. So what I liken it to is natural versus normal. Okay. So if I cleaned off the board and I put natural on this side and put normal on that side, I would ask you to describe to me what normal is. Okay. Normal, your average adult, uptight, tense, in debt, goes to work every day to try to pay off a mortgage that he never quite gets to. And at the end of the day, you never own your house anyway, because you still have to pay property taxes. So no matter how much you've paid off your house, no matter how hard you have worked in this system, you never own anything because you still have to pay property tax. And if you think you own your house, don't pay your property tax and see what they do. They come and take it. You never own anything in this system, but yet you'll work 50 years. And then hopefully maybe someday you'll get to retire. And I will tell you this much, we've been set up, we've been lied to. Retirement in the Bible is used as a punishment, because y'all are creators and you came here to create and constantly create and never stop creating. I don't care how old you are. I've seen some amazing people do things in their 90s. So you're never too old to create. You're never too old to manifest. You're never too old to bring into existence something new in this world. But what is happening is that you are constantly being pressed down upon, and you buy into that. So natural versus normal. Normal, uptight, depressed in most cases, and people don't even know they're depressed. And they live on energy drinks to get by, and they hold on until Friday, or they wait for the weekend. Woohoo, the weekend's here. And then you collapse on the couch because you don't have enough energy to do anything. Why wait till the weekend to feel relaxed and at ease and at joy? You can't even get there because it's just 5 days on, 2 days off, 5 days on, 2 days off. Now, as opposed to natural. And natural is when I look at any one of my 3 grandsons, and they're just natural is you're full of energy, you're full of vim and vigor. You will rebel when you're told to do something you're not so happy about. You actually stand up for yourself. Now, your parents may know a little bit more about it, and don't touch that stove kind of stuff. But even there, you'll learn a lesson. But natural is full of energy, full of vim and vigor, full of inquisitiveness, inquiry, questioning the world. Why? We should be walking around asking why. Why can't I ever own anything? Why do I have to pay you taxes? That's so crippling to me that I can't even put food on my table sometimes. Why do I have to listen to you? Why are you so full of, fill in the blank? So natural versus normal. Our natural state is happy, healthy, joyful, fearless, loving, alive, just like my grandchildren. Our normal state is induced in us by powers that be pressing down upon humanity and never taking their foot off our neck. Okay, that's what's happening. Yeah. And that induces all this stuff into the field. And then that causes worry, that causes fear, that causes us to fret over what's coming or what could come or what possibly could come. I have another protocol that I do frequently. I've got it just on worry. It's pages of stuff that build up in the field that develop syndromes of worry. Okay, that's how prevalent it is. Anyway, here's the way you get over it. Ask yourself the question, and seriously ask yourself the question and contemplate it. How would a spiritual being show up in this world? Ask the question and sit there and wait for the freaking answer. How would a spiritual being show up in this world? Spiritual being has no beginning and no end. A spiritual being whiles away eternity by coming here and having a theater of experience. A spiritual being, if you weren't restricted by the rules of this matrix, which you agreed to come in here, that's okay. Gravity works, that kind of stuff, those kind of rules. But a spiritual being that if you weren't restricted by the rules of this matrix at this time, you could literally speak planets into existence. You're that powerful. You're that powerful, and you've forgotten it. And you've forgotten it because you've let these rat finks over here drive you in this cycle of duress and worry and fear and shut you down. You've let this happen, and you're staying in the rat race. But ask yourself this question. with all sincerity and then wait for the answer. How would a spiritual being show up in this world? It sure as hell wouldn't be like this. Okay. All right, sweetheart, did I answer that question?
Yeah, I believe you did. I just want you to explain, do a real quick explanation of fight, flight, and freeze. You did kind
Well,
of the freeze aspect of it.
yeah. So we always hear about fight or flight. I think that's the way we were taught in school. That your psychology gets locked up. All right. So, okay. So I'll give you a better example. All right. Immobility response. Um, and this is another clearing that I do quite frequently. So let's say that you have a rabbit, and this rabbit's running through the woods, fleeing for its life because there's a fox chasing it. The fox grabs the rabbit, puts its teeth on its throat from the back, and is about to bite down on the rabbit's throat and kill it. Mother Nature has built into all of us, we have this, all animals, humanity, humans have this. It's called an immobility response. Right before those teeth pierce that rabbit's neck to kill it and terminate its life, Mother Nature does not want that rabbit to suffer. And so what it does is it kicks in the immobility response and the nervous system shuts down. The rabbit goes limp. And at that time, that immobility response kicks in. At that moment, let's say a hunter is in the woods or somebody's walking down a trail, and it startles the fox, and the fox drops the rabbit, and the rabbit's body hits the ground. That immobility response is so thorough, rabbit can't even get up and run away. It's over. That nervous system's over. After a few seconds, the nervous system determines, oh, something's different, something's not happening, and the immobility response stops. Rabbit's nervous system comes back online, it pops to life and runs off the other way. Okay, you follow that? So that's part of nature. And some people call it fight, flight, or freeze, right? So the rabbit could have stood there and fight the fox, which was a losing battle. It's not going to win that one. Yeah. So it goes into flight, it runs. And then ultimately it hits a state of freeze where the immobility response kicks in, nervous system goes dormant or shuts down, and then the fox could have killed it. But that's fight, flight, or freeze. That's a really good example of fight, flight, or freeze. So that's what we're in all the time in this cycle, is in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. Economic hits, the COVID hits. Well, oh my God, now we're fight or flight, or we freeze. And we're probably people are cycling through those three stages all the time, until I have met some people though that get stuck in a stage, and they'll get stuck in fight, and they'll burn out their adrenal glands or burn out their system. They'll get stuck in flight. These are the people that are hiding in their house, won't stand up to authority, won't just acquiesce to everything that they're being told. They believe everything that they're being told. Listen, folks, if you're listening to CNN, Fox News, or anything like that, any of these mainstream media channels 24/7, you're being lied to. And you're just being lied to in different forms and different sophisticated levels of mind control. It's BS. It's propaganda. Okay? That's flight. You're just sitting there waiting for somebody to tell you what's happening, and then you go, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I better stay in my house. I better do what I'm told. I better do what authorities tell me. Or freeze. And that's worse. Freeze. You just kind of, boom, you're done. You're done. If that immobility response gets kicked in and it doesn't naturally reverse itself, and you don't get up off the ground and start walking out and create your life again and create your reality and create your response to this world, if you're stuck in the immobility response, you're done. You might as well just go ahead and check out, because otherwise you've got just a life of just trudging through that cycle of going to work on Monday, praying to God for Friday, and over until you die. And that's what this is about. This fear to live, fear to die, reversing of mind energy. So the reversing of mind energy is actually creating negativity. You use mind energy to move energy into matter. You use mind to create your reality. When you get stuck in an immobility response, your mind energy gets reversed, and you actually then begin to create this in your life. In addition to this happening to humanity as a whole, you begin to create that in your own personal cycle.